The nation of Ghana is in mourning following the deaths of its Defense Minister Edward Omane Boamah and Environment Minister Ibrahim Murtala Muhammed in a fatal helicopter crash yesterday, August 6, 2025. The aircraft, which took off from Accra at 9 a.m. en route to Obuasi, lost radio contact shortly after departure. All 8 individuals on board, including 3 crew members and 5 passengers, were killed. President John Mahama, through Chief of Staff Julius Deborah, extended condolences to the families and ordered national flags flown at half-mast.
The crash comes at a time when Boamah was overseeing military preparedness amid rising jihadist threats from neighboring Burkina Faso. Boamah, former communications minister and medical doctor, had recently led Ghana's diplomatic efforts with military-led governments in the Sahel and was due to release a book on late President John Mahama. The cause of the crash is under investigation. But joining us this morning to speak on the tragic incident is the campaign lead for the Trans-African Tourism and Unity Campaign. He is also a former Member of Parliament in Ghana. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Ras Mubarak. First of all, do accept our condolences, as we do know that Ghana is currently mourning for the sad losses.
We are in a state of shock. Ghanaians least expected this sad, very tragic incident. And this had come at the heels of the passing of one of the iconic singers in Ghana, Daddy Lumba, a week ago. And so people were reeling off that, passing, only to be greeted yesterday with this most tragic passing of our comrades, 4 of whom I've worked with very, very closely. Omane Boamah, the defense minister, who was also, the director of elections of our party. Honorable Murtala Ibrahim, Muhammed, he was 50. As a matter of fact, I was born in his constituency. And with somebody I've been very, very close to, Honorable Limuna. Limuna is a former a great minister, currently the Deputy National Security Coordinator until his passing, and he was just 2 days shy of his 58th birthday. We also lost the Vice Chairman of our party, Samuel Sapon, who is 68, and one of the young members of our party, Samuel Abuaje, 44, who was the Deputy Director of the National Disaster Management. My phone yesterday had been ringing non-stop from 11 a.m. People, trying to reach out for confirmation of what had happened, and it wasn't until about midday when we had clearer picture of what had gone on. And I would also use this opportunity to express my heartfelt thanks to the immediate family and condolences to the immediate family, and also to our brothers and sisters in Nigeria. The outpouring of grief, of commiserations have come in thick and fast. And we appreciate you standing by us in this tragic moment.
Thank you, Honorable Mubarak. And this tragic incident does really hit home, as you have a personal relationship with some of the faithfully departed. Now, this incident has raised some serious concerns about aviation safety, especially for high-ranking government officials. From your own perspective, are there systemic gaps in Ghana's air transport protocols, and how can this be addressed to prevent future tragedies? I also want you to clarify, because we've seen on social media there were insinuations that President John Mahama was meant to be on that trip yesterday.
So indeed, it was a very high-level, official event in the Ashanti region. As you may be aware, we've been grappling with the menace of what we call here galamsey, that is activities of illegal miners, who are destroying our water bodies and our forest reserves. And so there was supposed to be an event in the Ashanti region, which His Excellency the President was scheduled to be at, but he had, another engagement in a different region, just about the same time, for which reason he had asked the defense minister to lead the delegation to the event, and it's extremely tragic. It's like a dream. We're still reeling from. It may take us a long time to actually recover, from what had happened. But in respect to your previous question about aviation safety, Ghana's had a fairly, safe aviation record. We haven't had incidences of choppers falling off the skies or aeroplanes getting down, etc. The last one, however, was a chopper that fell off the sky last year, and obviously it's still early days yet. Currently, there are interagency investigations, to decipher, to find out exactly what may have been the cause of the accident, so that the family can get a closure to this. But pretty much Ghana's had a very, a fairly safe aviation record. But for last year's incident and, yesterday's rather tragic incident.
Well, while we also look at the fact that Ghana so far avoided rebel spillover, I mean, especially from the Sahel, and like you did mention, they were also going to carry out this inspection. This sudden tragedy did occur. But Ghanaians as a whole, can you share with us how they taking this story? Obviously, we know that they're not going to take it with any other way, in any other way other than to be very sad or pained. But what are Ghanaians really saying, especially with the fact that they were going to look at a major challenge bedeviling the nation, of course, Galamsey and all that?
I mean, Ghanaians are grieving in unison. You've heard statements from former President Kufuor, former President Akufo-Addo, former Vice President, Boamah, who belong to the other side of the political divide, and you've heard statements from, members of their party who are all grief-stricken, by this most unfortunate incident. So there's unison in what had happened. I've even heard opposition elements say that they should not contest the Honorable Murtala's seat as a mark of respect. Ordinary Ghanaians are mourning, and it's just too much to bear, too painful to bear. I personally spoke to Omane Boamah, the late defense minister, just last Sunday, and the late environment minister on the 21st of last month, and given the personal relationships, given the fact that these are Ghanaians who distinguish themselves very, very well, people are really saddened by that. But there's also a conversation that is beginning to emerge about what we really need to do to, persons whose activities are destroying our water bodies and our forests. You may remember that there was an incident where a military officer was murdered in cold blood, some 4 or 5 years ago, 5 years ago actually, on an operation to fight galamsey or illegal mining in our country. And now we have had 8 gallant, patriotic, men who've lost their lives tragically in a related incident. So the conversation is beginning to emerge as to what we need to be doing to these people, whether we've treated them with kids' gloves, because obviously, but for the illegal activities of illegal miners, which has necessitated yesterday's program that ultimately culminated in the tragic death of our comrades and compatriots, they probably would have been alive today. I'm a Muslim. I do believe that everything happens by the will of Allah, but human deeds also could lead to certain disasters, and going forward, you would see a lot of tough action against activities of, illegal miners who are completely decimating our forest reserves. Others have even made the point And I remember a former Deputy Speaker of Parliament of Ghana, Joe Seusu, that 4 years ago in Parliament made the point that, he thinks that people who are illegally destroying our water bodies and our forests need to be shot on sight. Today others are saying that he's been vindicated because we've lost, this is just about the 9th high-profile life we've lost in Ghana, related to galamsey activities, and that is 9 too many. We can't wait for another major disaster to happen, for another loss of life of a high-ranking official before we wake up from our sluggishness and slumber, to nip this in the bud. But it's a tragic situation. The young officers involved, some of them, one of them got married just about a month or so ago. Another has a 2-month-old child, etc. Murtala leaves behind children, and it's tragic.
It's very sad.
This had happened, and we can only take solace in the fact that it is the will of Allah, and that this is a journey that all of us would have to embark on at some point or the other, because tears certainly cannot wipe away the memory of these wonderful, men who perished in the line of duty.
Now, Honorable Mubarak, it's a double tragedy because you have galamsey on one hand, and then this could have been avoided. This death, they wouldn't have had to travel if there wasn't a galamsey problem. Now, both late ministers, Boamah and Murtala Muhammed, had reputations for public service and reform. How would you describe their legacy, and what will their absence mean for national governance and also this battle against illegal mining activities in Ghana? How are you going to fill that void? And so far, so good in the second coming of President John Mahama. How's that battle against galamsey been? Are you making progress? Where are we at the moment?
Well, there's been impetus in the actions to deal with the activities of illegal miners, and one of them is to keep the young men and women in these mining areas very busy and give them, alternative livelihoods, so that they don't have to resort to destroying water bodies and, forest. And sadly, they seem to be conniving with, foreign nationals in decimating and destroying, our water bodies. But I know it's early days yet in the administration, 7 months. The government is serious about, tackling this menace. In terms of the repute of, Omane Boamah, Murtala Muhammed, Dr. Limuna, who also was an agric minister before he was nominated as the Deputy National Security Coordinator. These are men with high integrity. Murtala Muhammed is one of the most incorruptible, figures in our politics, and he, spoke passionately about the effects of corruption on our body politic, and how, politicians would have to remember that they would account for their stewardship, if they were to leave, this life. If you follow social media and hear some of the things that he said, he might come across as a preacher. He's a man of high integrity, and so was. I don't know why I keep referring to them in the present tense. Maybe I've still not come to terms with the fact that they are truly gone. But Omane Boamah was also a man with high integrity, a man who served diligently in various portfolios in President Mohammed's first tenure, a man who's played a pivotal role in our return to government as director of our party's election. And the void that they leave, certainly, these were husbands, these were fathers. Those voids can never be replaced. You can never replace a father who's lost a life. You can never replace a husband a woman may, get married at some point or the other, but, it may not be as the same as the man she had children with and truly loved for many, many years. So on a personal level, the families are devastated. Omane Boamah's mother is still alive. And on a national level, obviously, this is one of the cut and what you call it, the cut and bruises of politics. At some point or another, the president would have to take the painful decision of replacing these ministers and officials, and there's going to be a by-election also in Murtala Muhammed's constituency, sadly. But we will pull through this. It's a tough one. The president has announced through the chief of staff 3 days of national mourning. There's definitely going to be, state burial, state funeral for, all of these 8 people who sadly, perish in this tragic incident. People are trying to contain, the pain, the grief, the anguish that they are feeling, and it's like a dream. I struggled to sleep last night, because conversations with Murtala and particularly Omane kept ringing in my head. We were supposed to have an event on Monday.
Okay.
This Monday the 11th, we're supposed to do the media launch of the Trans-African Tourism and Unity campaign, which is a campaign to travel by road to 39 African countries to promote a visa-free policy and African unity, and I'm leading that campaign. So Murtala was supposed to be at the event. Murtala is was one of the finest Pan-Africanists from our country that I know, and he was supposed to be at the event on Monday. Omane Boamah had indicated earlier, I had spoken to him just last Sunday, and he had indicated to me that he was going to be available for that event, and he was fully in support of it. So we're all in preparations, putting finishing touches to the launch of our campaign, which would have been Monday, and then starting the journey on the 18th of this month.
So many plans, and it's very sad that they had to go in such circumstances. I mean, once again, hearts go out to you and the entire country of Ghana for the loss of this brave man. We would like to say a big thank you to you for taking time out to speak to us, knowing the circumstances and how fresh this is still to you, Honorable Ras. We do really appreciate.
Thank you so much for your time. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much indeed, and thank you to Nigeria for the love and support. And,
as always, thank you.
By standing behind you.
All right. Very sad situation in Ghana there, but you can trust us here on News Central. We'll continue to follow through and do as much as we can to ensure that we speak with the people that matter most. But